Welcome back to Everything Tottenham. Let's go over some of the transfer rumours circulating our club this week. Let's get into it. Starting off then with one of the more ones that look furthest along is David Raya from Brentford. Looks pretty solid, to be fair. I think when the rumour was getting battered around, I was like, I don't know. I think some of the bigger clubs like Chelsea's and United that were linked with him, I thought they were going to sort of poach it, but it's looking pretty good, to be fair. Hopefully we can get that one over the line. I think Brentford are looking for 40. Levy probably wants to pay 30. So hopefully we can meet somewhere in the middle. And it looks like we're the only club actually sort of with some serious interest with him at the minute. So fingers crossed we can get that one over the line, because I think all round he's the sort of keeper that will fit the system the most. Good with his feet, great shot stopper. I think statistically he was one of the best in the world last season. So let's get on to the next one then. James Maddison. His name's been battered around quite a lot recently. I think it's realistically us and Newcastle in the race for him at the minute. I keep hearing different things. I keep hearing that we're leading the race, Newcastle leading the race, but again, behind closed doors, it seems like his missus is driving the fact that she wants to be in London. Realistically, from the outside looking in, if you're James Maddison, you're comparing the two up. Newcastle on the up in Champions League next season. So if that's the case, it's probably an easy decision for him. But hopefully the rumours are true that he wants to be in London. His missus wants to be in London. So hopefully we can get the pull. And I'm hearing other things that apparently his agent is pretty close with Spurs. So fingers crossed we can get that one over the line, because I feel like he's the player we need. And before, obviously, the transfer window kicked off, I think David Raya and Maddison were my two top targets of alongside defenders. But annoyingly, recently, a lot of the targets we've been linked with are midfielders. So let's see if that changes. But Maddison for me has got to be the top target. But whether we can convince him to come to us over Newcastle is yet to be seen. Another one for me is Eze from Palace. We've been linked with him maybe as the backup if Maddison deal obviously either falls through or he ends up going to Newcastle. I think towards the back end of last season he looked really good, especially under Roy. He scored a lot of goals. He was driving force for Palace really. But the thing that concerns me with him is you look what they did with Zaha in the past. They sort of priced him out of the market, and with Zaha leaving and Eze to sort of being their star man now, I feel like it's going to be a bit of a challenge to prize him away from Palace. But you never know. It could be a possibility. But another one for me alongside Maddison, I think he's a great player, great talent. He's a bit younger as well. So for me, I think he's a top target. Realistically, Levy's going to want to pay about 40 mil for him. I reckon Palace ain't going to take anything less than 65. So I don't particularly see us meeting that this season. Maybe next season. I think he's got 2 years left of his contract. So maybe if they run it down. But the problem is if he has a great season next season, then a lot of other clubs are going to come sniffing. So maybe we take the punt this year and go out all out on him. But who knows? Rolling on for another midfielder. The name Conor Gallagher has been batted around recently. Again, I think he's a good player. Slightly similar to Maddison and Eze, but probably a little bit more hard-working, defensively from that press, which I quite like. But I don't know if he's got enough in the final third to sort of really be that solid number 8 alongside whoever else we end up signing. Because realistically, it's looking like we're trying to sign 2 8s. In my eyes, I see Bentancur being the 6, and then either having a couple of 8s potentially being brought in, or I see Højbjerg fitting that system as an 8 pretty well. But apparently there's rumours that he's leaving, which is concerning in my eyes anyway. But yeah, the problem with Gallagher is that Chelsea don't sell to us. They've got some weird thing that they love to sell to Arsenal. Them two are like complete not rivals at all or challenging for the similar stuff. So I've always found that weird that they just seem to swap bloody players back and forth all the time. But nothing to us, but we'll happily take their managers, which is a weird thing. So yeah, I don't really see them, one, selling to us, and two, actually being a realistic target in my eyes. Another midfielder then is Alex Scott from Bristol. I think we've been linked with him quite a while now. The only problem with me is that they're asking for 35 mil. And in my eyes, it's a little bit too much for an unproven player in the Prem. I know he's been doing it in the lower leagues, and yeah, that's great and everything. And I probably would want to take a punt on him. I think he's a good player, and I think he'd fit our system well. But 35 million for someone that's potentially a risk. You look back in the day to a Dele Alli, 5 million from Dons. It's a different story, really. Obviously, you can't predict that sort of early success, but 5 million to 35 million, it's a massive difference. And I can't see Levy fronting up 35 mil for someone who's not proven in the Prem. So again, I don't see that being a realistic target, but maybe again, if the Maddison Eze falls through, he'd probably be that next third or fourth option. So who knows, we could end up seeing him at the Lane. Moving on then to a couple of wingers, been linked with Harvey Barnes. Harvey Barnes, I like him. In my eyes, he's a squad player. I don't think he's good enough to take over necessarily Son's role if he ends up leaving next season. I mean, he's got that talent, but in my eyes, I see him as being the perfect Mora replacement. Someone who can come off for the last 20 minutes of a game. But again, it's dependent on if we can get him at a good price. If we can get him at 20 mil, 25 mil, yeah, I'd say let's have a punt on him because, again, I think he's a good squad player and he will be able to do a job. And then the other person, Jadon Sancho, which I think is just crazy at the minute because, I mean, he had a bad injury last season and then towards the back end, he started playing well for United. But he's on like 350k. And there's no way in hell he's dropping his salary to come to Spurs. Like, it's just not happening. I can't see it. I think it's just a stupid rumour. And I'm not even going to bite on it. I'm not even going to talk about it too much because I just think it's completely unrealistic. There's a thing that United do. They're paying these players far too much money and then they almost price them out the market because if they want to go anywhere else that isn't one of the richest clubs in the world, they ain't going to get the same wage and they either drop their wage down or what. And I just don't see it. One, I don't see United being that desperate to sell him. And two, we're never paying them sort of wages. We're far from that. I think Kane is our highest earner. He's just over 200 or on 200. So it's a non-starter for me. I quickly go over some of the possible outgoings then. I briefly mentioned it earlier. Højbjerg's name's being batted around. I think it's a bit of a weird one because in my eyes, I really like him. Alongside Kane in games, especially towards the back end of Conte's reign last season, he was more one of the harder working players alongside Kane. And he's never really put a foot wrong for me. I think he goes under the radar how good he is. Some of his pressing last season and the season before, to be fair as well, led to some really important goals. The City game and stuff springs to mind. And considering we weren't necessarily that high pressing team before, he did a good job when we had them little snippets. So under Postecoglou, who likes to press from the front, I feel like he would be a great fit for that system. In an 8, he can do that job. His ball playing's underrated. Okay, he's not the best going forward, but I feel like he's not the worst. In my eyes, I keep him every day of the week, but I think maybe if we can get 35, 40 for him, but I'd still rather keep him. I don't know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments. But yeah, Højbjerg for me, I think he's got to stay for me, but who knows? Wrapping up with Harry Kane then, is looking more and more likely that he's going to stay. I think United have called in their interest now, which is good. And then obviously the whole Real Madrid saga sort of sparked up. But now they're linked with Mbappe again. So apparently they're calling their interest again. And in my eyes, Real Madrid was realistically the only team outside of the Prem that was going to tempt him away that could afford him. And I don't see Levy selling him to United. So fingers crossed he's staying. But that's it, guys. Just wanted to have a little quick transfer roundup. Obviously, keep them coming throughout the summer window. If you like the content and you love Spurs, make sure to like and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next one. Come on, you Spurs.